Hi everyone, it's Knitting in Our Jeans. I'm Carolyn and I'm flying solo. Elizabeth is up visiting Aunt Marianne with her partner Ben. And so I'm here and I'm catching you up after an absence of I think 3 weeks, and I apologize for that. The only thing is Rich doesn't like me to tell you when we're going to be away for a length of time, and boy were we away. We took the new car and we went on a 2,200-mile car ride. I wanted to try it out. I wanted to see if there was anything that we had problems with. And we came up with 3 things, and we have an appointment at the car dealer next Thursday to get those fixed. Little things that might not bother other people, but when we were moving luggage around in the trunk, there is a foot kick they will say, oh, you want to open the trunk? You want to close the trunk? And it kept trying to bundle us into the trunk, closing down on us. So we want to disable that. Neither Richard nor I have the balance to stand there and stick one foot under there to open the trunk when you really want to. And honestly, I can just grab the regular opener and have it open. So it was a great road trip. We drove down to Delaware Memorial Bridge, and then from there we went down to Richmond, stayed overnight with my brother. From there we went to Winston-Salem, and I was in Winston-Salem for 4 years when I was a kid, and I could remember going to Old Salem at Christmas time where there were tons of Moravian stars, and of course you came home with Moravian cookies. So we bought Moravian cookies to take with us to Ben's parents' house, which is where we were headed for Mother's Day. Old Salem was lovely, bit like Williamsburg and a lot of those other reconstructed villages. So we had a really good time. It was really great to be back, and I love Moravian cookies. We stayed at the Fairfield Inn, just I think north of it, the Old Salem, and it was lovely. Absolutely lovely. Free parking, beautiful service. It was great. I would stay there again in a heartbeat. From Winston-Salem, we went to the Biltmore. Now, my knee had been acting up, as I think you all know, and I couldn't tour the house. There's a lot of walking at Biltmore. And I said, next time. So we stayed at the Biltmore, and that was lovely, and that was for my birthday. They were really nice. They paid attention to all my food allergies, and we had a lovely time. So if anybody's thinking of, do I want to stay at the Biltmore or not, I would recommend it. Plus, our car is a plug-in hybrid, and they actually had 2 plugs in the parking lot that worked. And we found out during this trip that does not often happen. The Biltmore plugs worked. We were able to charge the car and be ready to go the next day. And the next day we trundled into Salem, South Carolina, having picked up Ben and Elizabeth at the airport. Lovely airport in Greenville, really very sweet. Got to Salem, we're shown our suite. Lovely. We didn't just have a spare bedroom. We had a suite, a living room and a bedroom and a bathroom all to ourselves. And it was really lovely because, when you get up in years, sometimes those morning bathroom routines are often long and exaggerated. And where do you have room to put all your pills and things like that? We had a really good time. Eating out almost constantly. We saw, what did we see? We saw wild turkeys. We saw deer along the highway. I think we saw a deer in their housing development. We did not see a bear. The bear showed up after we left, thank goodness. But we had a really good time with Bob and Robbie, so thank you very much. And she got me interested in doing quilts again. So it looks like I may be doing one for the church, but more on that later. So we were there for 3 days. We then packed up on Monday and took the kids back to the airport. And on the way, I realized I'd left my dress bag. So when we got to the airport, we dropped the kids off and had to go back to Salem, South Carolina to pick up my dresses. Yes. They were in a closet. I should have put them out on the floor. Then I wouldn't have forgotten them. And then we started up. We think we drove to Weaverville, which was just to get us in the space to head up the Blue Ridge Parkway. Found out the Blue Ridge Parkway in North Carolina has been decimated by Hurricane Helene last October, and there are great swaths of it that are still washed out. So we got to the Southeastern Craft Museum, and I'm so glad we did. And after that, going north, the Blue Ridge Parkway was closed. So we were told a way to drive around that and where to get back on. And then from then on, we drove on the Blue Ridge Parkway, which I found to be so restful. It was wonderful. So from Weaverville, we got to Peaks of Otter, which is a lovely hotel right by Otter Lake, which is really it's a small lake, but all the hotel rooms look out on the lake. And it's kind of in the fingertips of mountain peaks. Really, really pretty. And it's run by the National Park Service. And it was great. And the only that they didn't have a bath mat, but we had an extra towel, so we used that as our bath mat. The showers were hot. It's a great room. We just really liked it. Slept very well. Had dinner and then breakfast at the lodge, and then then we took the shuttle up to Sharp Mountain, up to the top of Sharp Mountain. I couldn't hike, but I took the bus ride up, and then I took the bus ride back down. And then I was working on, you'd think I'd be working on the shawl, wouldn't you? Yes, you would, except I found out that once you do the increase, it becomes very tight. And I decided to wait until I got home so I could get a 60-inch needle. So instead, I started working on my fairy from Gold Dimensions. And so I sat in the car, put the seat all the way back, sat in the car, and was working on this. So this haven't been working on much at home because I've been trying to finish some of these knitting projects so I can clean up the space around my space on the living room sofa before I get started on the quilt. And the quilt's getting started tomorrow. I have washed the pieces and I'll iron them tomorrow, and then I can start sewing. I've taken my serger and my sewing machine in to have them do their yearly checkup, but I have Elizabeth's sewing machine and serger, which she got from my mom, so I can get started before my machines come back. So that's good. I bought a kit. In fact, I bought 2 kits so I can make something that's king size from Fort Worth Studios. And the odd thing is that it's just the fabric cut. There's no instructions. So I had to go and find the pattern. And the pattern really tells you your cutting instructions. So you've got this fabric, but what are the cutting instructions? And that's what I wanted. I know you do a 1/4-inch seam with quilts and piecing them. But anyway, yes, I'm wearing a t-shirt from Bar Harbor. It says Bar Harbor right here. It's quite warm today. This is a Memorial weekend that my mother used to apologize when we drove down on Friday, but by Sunday she was thrilled. So yes, Friday it was rainy, yesterday it was kind of overcast, and today it's gorgeous, and Richard is out sailing. So I got a lot done today. I got the living room vacuumed, I got the bathroom cleaned, I got some laundry done, I got all kinds of things done while he is gone. My knee is not really good enough for me to go out and try to do anything on a boat. I could be a passenger, but it's going to be replaced. So this coming week, I'm going to call and find a date for when I get my knee replaced, my second knee replaced. Had the MRI, they went, that's not going to get better. Well, I could have told them that. But anyway, we're doing just fine. So I have worked on my Princess of Oz jacket, and I thought I was going to finish it last night and show you a finished jacket, but I have gotten to the point where I am ready to bind off. So it's a long enough jacket Oops. So I'm going to bind off, and then I'm going to crochet around the neck edge to give it a better neck edge. So that's, I'm going to do a couple rows of crochet around the neck edge, and then I will space my buttons down the front. I have 6 buttons, so I will space, and it's big enough, or the stitches are big enough that I can just poke my finger in and then edge stitch around to make my buttonholes. I tested that before. I ignored the fact of making buttonholes. So this hopefully will be done by next week. That would be lovely. Absolutely lovely. All right, so I left you on the Blue Ridge Parkway. We decided not to go up the Skyline Drive. Why? Oh, because we decided to go to Gettysburg. I had been to Gettysburg once as a kid, having driven through the entire battlefield, following the self-guided map and tour that the National Park Service has set up. I have no idea what I saw before. I have no idea, unless my father took us to the cemetery. I have no idea. But it was fascinating, and I certainly learned a few things about the Battle of Gettysburg that I didn't know before, which was fascinating to me because a child of the South, back when I was going to school, the Civil War, or the War between the States as it was called in North Carolina, you get a lot of that history. So this was really interesting that we got a little bit more that I didn't know. And then from Gettysburg, we went to Hershey. And I had never been to Hershey before. And no, we didn't go to Hershey Park. Remember this knee that won't let me do much of anything? Well, it's not going to let me go on rides. It's not going to let me walk around a park. I wanted to see the Hershey Museum, which is what we did. And then we had lunch across the street at a Houlihan's. And we gathered up some stuff. When we were at the Biltmore, we bought some Biltmore sparkling wine, and we also dropped all that off at Salem, South Carolina for them to enjoy. We didn't pop it open while we were there. I'm not quite sure why. We were busy in Salem. So we picked up some chocolates and some cocoa butter soap because we were seeing friends of ours the next day. And we drove down to Chevy Chase, met them for lunch, exchanged gifts. I'm glad we came with gifts because they did too. Had a lovely lunch, stayed for about 3 hours, and they got to see the car. And then we jumped in the car and we drove to Delaware Memorial Bridge, or just over it. And then that Monday we finished driving home. So we've only been home 7 days. I've gotten the wash done. As I said, I've now started cleaning around the house. It's amazing how much dust builds up when you're not here. Anyway, I have to say Ben's mom, Robbie, does beautiful work with quilts. And if I do anything half as good as what she does, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. Meanwhile, I have not forgotten my Nevertheless shawl. So I will tell you that when you get to this third main color section, it's 600 and, hold on, I have it written. It's in the notes. Let me see if I can move my notes up here. 646 stitches. I had a 30-inch needle. It hurt to move the stitches around, so I did not work on this while we were away, much past the first 2 rows after the increase, because it was just too hard to move it around the needle. So when I got home, I now have a 60-inch circular needle that it's on. We're in the third main color section, and I will put the instructions down below. So basically you start your main color and then you do the knit 1 yarn over, knit 1 yarn over, which is how it balloons to 646 stitches. I do not do an increase at the top here because I really do think 1,200 stitches for a shawl is just more than we need. But if you don't feel that way, you certainly could do an increased row right up here, and you can have 1200 plus 1292 stitches on your needle. My hands won't support that. So anyway, we've got one more color section to do. I'm looking for my ball of yarn, which is what I'm going to be using this for. The other reason I didn't want to do another set of increases at the top of this main color is that this would make this color section stripe really short. So it'd be long but short, and I didn't want that. So as usual, I ran out of main color yarn before I could do the purl row. So I used my color section to come back to be able to start the next pattern. But basically, this is what it looks like, unblocked. You know, the lace is going to stretch out, and hopefully I'll get the next pattern section done by next week. We'll see. I told you about my knee. I've had the MRI. The MRI itself wasn't painful, but they put the leg in a brace to keep it in place. And my leg apparently has gotten a wee bit crooked, so that was pretty painful once I got out of that. And was sore the next day. So the next day, the orthopedist called and said, yeah, there's no saving it. And for you to be able to get back to doing what you want to do, it's called knee replacement. And his physician's assistant said, you know, it's going to be painful. I said, I know it's going to be painful. And so, you know, we'll get the date for that and go on from there. At least my knitting I can do while I'm laying on the sofa. I can do my needlework while laying on the sofa. And I guess I can do some handwork on the quilt while laying on the sofa. So my life won't be truly upset. It's just getting through that first month. The first 2 weeks, the first month, that I know can be difficult. That's the way it is. The car was a champion. We really liked the fact when we got out of the car, we were not bent stiff and, you know, just cramped up. It was lovely to drive in. Lovely to drive, lovely to ride in. I'm so glad I got this car. As I said, we're taking it on Thursday to get a few little odds and ends fixed. And so that's done. I've got to go get my hair cut before I get my knee replaced because it's driving me up a wall at the moment. It's getting long in the back, and now that it's getting to be warm, it's getting hot back there. So I've got to call and make an appointment to get my hair cut. And meanwhile, I'll just keep on keeping on. So weave in your ends, and hopefully I will see you soon. Bye, everybody. Oh, by the way, I'm CPREDMORN Ravelry and Knitting on Our Jeans on Instagram. I keep forgetting this. I really do need Elizabeth for organization, as well as for many other things. Anyway, love you all. Happy Memorial Weekend, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Let's see if I